Students, welcome back to class. Get your books ready. Right on top, the vegan view. On the left side here, write good. On the right side, write bad. And let's get ready to evaluate. When we hear something that is good, we're going to put a check mark. When we hear something that's bad, that doesn't make sense, that's a lie or weird, whatever, we're going to put an X. All right? Here we go. Don't forget to send them to me, pictures of your notebooks at the end, at That Vegan Teacher Miss Katie on Instagram. That Vegan Teacher Miss Katie on Instagram. I love to see when you take pictures of your own evaluation sheets because it's fun to compare. A lot of times what students do is they write me little notes on the side, which is also kind of fun. All right, here we go.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Vegan View. So obviously the holidays can be really wonderful, but they can also be a little bit awkward sometimes, especially if you are the vegan in the room and you're with non-vegan friends and family. Sometimes they make little comments or not little comments, and it can be very uncomfortable. So today we're going to talk about how we deal with that and maybe some strategies and tips to make the holidays a little bit more enjoyable for you and your family.
Okay, so check mark.
So I know.
We'll give them a check mark to start off with. Right away, we like the fact that they are doing a video. It is about veganism, so that's good. It seems to be about Thanksgiving. Right now, at this moment, it's not Thanksgiving, but you can watch this video anytime. So I assume that it goes for other holidays as well.
Something that's really hard around Thanksgiving is that there is a lot of food and a lot of animal-based food, and it's really horrific after, especially if you've first gone vegan and you've first seen all these horrible things happening to animals, and then you see them there on the plate. And I know that is something that makes me uncomfortable,
Okay, so everybody is nodding. So right off the bat, we're going to give them a bunch of check marks because they're clearly all vegan, ethical vegans. So give them each one check mark because each of them is nodding in agreement that they are not uncomfortable for anything else except for the fact that there are dead animals on the table. So that's a good reason to be uncomfortable. Being ethical as a vegan is what veganism is about. It's not about food. It really is about being ethically motivated to not hurt the animals, to not exploit them, to not eat them, wear them, or use them.
Everyone comfortable, but I know from my experience as someone who used to eat meat, it would also make me uncomfortable to have a vegan there and have them make comments where there's a day it's already so stressful with the cooking and like some people watch football and some people see relatives they haven't seen in years. So it is a lot of stress, and I feel personally I feel like it's not the day that you break out your animal activism card.
Ooh. No. Gonna give her an X for that. It is always the right time to bring out your animal activism card. It is not about whether the people in the room are going to be uncomfortable or not. That's irrelevant. The important thing is to defend the animals.
Because it's like literally generally a whole bird, and there's this whole ceremony with like cutting it and carving it, and it's just so, it's hard to ignore. Like,
it's hard to ignore the turkey in the room. It's true. You're right, it is hard. And if, like me, you're suffering from dystopia, the anguish of being vegan in a non-vegan world, it is very hard. But it is also our responsibility to speak out on behalf of the victim on the table.
Certain meals, I feel like throughout the year, it's a little easier to disconnect. But at Thanksgiving and the holidays, it's usually a big, just right in the center. And
So in your face.
Can make people really uncomfortable, especially new vegans. I've heard that a lot in the comments.
Yeah, I think especially when I first went vegan, it was like very triggering. You eat with non-vegans probably pretty frequently, but to see it in such like a, it's like
Non-disguised.
whole form. Non-disguised.
And that's a good way of saying
And
it.
just like, I just remember like people talking about it just so nonchalantly and me being like, what are you talking?
Give me the leg meat.
Yeah,
and
give
you're
me the
like,
leg
the
meat.
leg meat?
Yeah.
Like, what? How do you not?
Okay, so this is what's going on in her head, or a few of them. It's like they are talking about the leg or the breast of the turkey, and in their heads they're thinking, oh my God, you're literally eating a dead animal in front of us and acting like this is a fun thing to do. And are they going to talk about it? That's what we want to know.
I think that's a weird thing to say,
I know,
but I
like,
never did.
Leg or breast, and you're like, I'm so uncomfortable.
And then like stuffing it and like all that stuff is just like, ugh, like it's all so weird once you become vegan. But yeah, I think that's a great point that like it's not the best time. It's already a sense.
No, you're getting an X for that. If you're not going to talk to your family about veganism when the turkey is literally in front of you, a dead animal on the table, when exactly are you planning to do that? When? When, if not then? You have an entire audience there. Your whole family, who supposedly loves you, is there. This is making you uncomfortable. Why would you not talk about it? I think they're all agreeing that they wouldn't talk about it, so I'm now giving them all, each one of them gets an X for that. It's a perfect time to talk about it.
Sensitive holiday for a lot of people for a lot of reasons.
So we have an episode on like how to be at Thanksgiving with non-vegans. We'll link down below. But that food you bring, always bring extra, always bring stuff that's really good.
Always bring extra food, that's good. Give you a check mark for that.
Lots of salt, lots of fat, lots of sugar, because you're cooking for people who don't eat vegan normally.
Okay, so if you're cooking a vegan meal and you're bringing it to share with everybody, she has a really good point. You know, make it as delicious as you can. Meaning, if normally at home you never add any salt, or you don't actually cook in oil, you cook just in water, it's okay when you're going out or sharing food with others who are new vegans to just go ahead and use the oil, go ahead and use the salt, and go ahead and just put whatever on there, as long as it's not a dead animal product or their secretions, to make it taste good for non-vegans. Yeah, give them a good experience.
And I like to keep my food kind of off to the side, so I can kind of have my own like little corner that I can go to when it's time to like make your plate.
Yes.
Or keep it on your side of the table, depending
Why?
on what arrangement you have. Just because when you're in the middle of everything, it feels kind of like you're in the line of fire.
Yeah.
And every time someone takes like a piece of turkey or I don't know, anything that's not vegan, it's like you're the visual cue, and then I feel like then I'm kind of putting myself in that line of fire.
I don't really understand what she's saying. She's making it sound like it's some sort of a buffet and that she puts her food on the side. So how does that... I'm not sure I understand. How does she, even if she put it in the middle, how is she in the line of fire? Like, is she sitting on the table holding her dish? I'm kind of confused.
So putting it over to the side and bringing extra. I like the idea of bringing extra, because every time I've been to a family holiday event and I've brought vegan food, everybody always wants to try it. So I definitely recommend, I think that's a great idea, bringing extra. For me, I think that one way that's easy to cope, or makes it easier to cope with the like triggering, you know, the visuals that are triggering, is to focus on what you are doing and what good you're doing by keeping that off your plate. And it might seem so insignificant in comparison to everyone else that's partaking in eating meat, but you have to know that those numbers add up, and the amount of animals that you save every year by not eating them 3 times a day, which is the norm for most people, really, really makes a huge difference on the environment, on animal lives, and on your own health. And just really being proud of the steps that you're taking.
Veganism has nothing to do with health, and it has nothing to do with the environment. So let's give you a couple of X's for that. Yeah, you can think that you're doing some good, but remember, veganism is about the animals and only the animals. And you might think that you are doing good. And yeah, you are. But if you have 10 relatives or 14 relatives at the table and you don't talk to them about it, you're missing an incredible opportunity.
To do good and focusing on what is working and what is good, I think is, for me, the only way that it feels like I can be there and be calm, because it's not about other people at that point. It's me and what I'm doing, and no one else. I don't expect anyone else to be on the same journey as me.
Why not? Why can't they be on the same journey? Why can't you bring them on that journey when your family is there? Why do you sit at the table with dead animals at all? Why don't you ask your family to have a vegan-only Thanksgiving? Did you try that? If you did, and they say no, well, then you know how little they care about you. That's hard, isn't it? Yeah. It takes courage, because you realize how little your family actually do care about you. At least this happens in many families. That's hard to take. But these 3 women should be talking about what they will do at Thanksgiving to talk about the animals. That's important, not just to remain silent.
Yeah, and I think one thing to remember too is that even if you feel like your friends and family members are never going to go vegan, you're still planting a seed in their minds by like eating this beautiful vegan plate in front of them. Like maybe they don't always get to see the home cooked vegan meals that you eat. So that's a great opportunity to like show them how colorful and amazing vegan meals can be. Like that's one thing that I always feel like I was kind of like look at everybody else's plate and I'm like, like this
it's like
looks
50
good.
Shades of beige and
Yeah,
versus
50
like
Shades
the
of beige. Yeah,
rainbow.
literally, yeah. So I always have like, you know, the greens, the mac and cheese. Like I have like the whole like
Cranberries,
yeah.
We like cranberry sauce.
Yeah, but I really do think that does make a difference. Like you don't have to say anything. They see your food. They see you eating it. They see you enjoying it and living your happy life. And that is planting a seed in one way or another.
Or not. Do they know that you're vegan? You know, people talk about planting seeds, but if you plant a seed and you plant it in cement without it being in the earth, without giving it any water or sunshine, nothing's going to happen. To plant the seed, you have to nourish it. And that means you plant the seed by being there and by having vegan food and by having the conversation with your family. As awkward as that might be, plant it. Water it, give it sunshine, give it love, and give it time, yes, but that's later. Later they can have all the time afterwards to think about what's going to happen to their lives or to think about you, but how are they going to think about it later if you don't make some sort of an impact during that meal with them? It's necessary. They might not even know that you're vegan. Or it might just go really just like right over their heads. They'll forget if you don't make a big deal out of it. I'm not saying cause, an entire fight at the table. No. But you must stand your ground. Maybe you should even you should even consider not eating at the table with them. Eat at another table. Or if you do eat with them, make sure that everyone does feel uncomfortable. They're eating a dead body in front of you. How do you think it would be different if somebody else in the family brought a meal to the table and put a dead cat in the middle? Do you think that any of the relatives would say something then, or would everybody just stay silent and just be, oh yeah? How about if it was a dead golden retriever? Would that make a difference? So why is it that if it's a dead turkey that you feel the need to be quiet and to shut up? Why is that? We as vegan animal rights activists need to stop being afraid. And what we're most afraid of often, at least these people seem to be, is their own family's reaction. People are worried about not being loved. But the reality is, when you become vegan, it's merely a test for whether you are loved or not. The love was already either there or not there. And when you become vegan, it becomes clear who actually gives a shit about you and the suffering that you are going through by seeing that dead animal on the table. And I know it's hard, but you got to be brave enough to look at what's going on with your family, to face that.
Maybe changing somebody's mind about veganism. Yeah. One thing that I try to do when it comes to like coping with like the being around the animal products, because for me just like smelling it is like probably the worst part. Seeing it is bad too, but just smelling it. So I always try to do as much prep work on my meals as I can ahead of time. So like first thing in the morning, I'll usually make all the sides before anybody's even in the kitchen. So so that's already done, and then I can just like heat them up when it's time to eat. Yeah. And then usually we will do like a tofurkey type or Gardein type roast situation.
Ooh, tofurkey, good. Good. Gardein, good. All right, so far, here's the score. We have a few bad, but we have some good also. So let's keep going. Let's hope it's going to pick up here.
And those usually take like
much faster,
like 20, 30 minutes or something like that.
And we did a roast taste test last year. We'll
link
tell
it below.
you which ones are the best, so check that one out.
There's
Oh, okay. They're saying that they did a vegan roast taste test last year. Good. Let's give them a check mark for that. They seem to really be trying to promote vegan foods. Good.
A big variety.
Yes.
Of, like, good to, like, really, really good.
Yeah. So then I'll just, like, save that to the end, like that and, like, some rolls. I'll, like, heat up 20-30 minutes before we eat, and then that way I don't have to be in the kitchen for all of the, like, taking all the stuff out of the turkey and all that stuff. I'll just be, like, watching TV.
Yeah. I love what you said about...
Okay, well, that's not a bad strategy. To avoid yourself being traumatized by watching the turkey being cut open and its legs spread apart and somebody shoving stuff inside of it. That was a person. I mean, when I say a person, we animal rights activists think that animals deserve personhood. They deserve to be treated with the dignity that humans are. We would never take a child and open their legs after we've murdered them and stuff them with a bunch of bread and cranberries or whatever the heck goes in there. It's just not normal. It's not okay. That turkey had a family. Turkey wanted to live. If you want to separate yourself from that so that you don't have a full blown out crying fit or attack of sadness or anger and just end up like a ball of tears on the floor, yeah, it's not a bad idea. If you insist on being with your family with dead foods around, it's a good strategy to leave the room, watch TV.
Planting seeds, because I think also something that's made a big difference in my family is to show how it's not weird. Like, you can be at the table, you can be part of it. It's like, you don't have to give up holidays. You don't have to be awkward or uncomfortable or make other people awkward or uncomfortable. You have your food, they have theirs. You can still partake and have almost exactly the same holiday that you did before. And I think when people see that, especially people who love you and care about you, they're going to feel like, oh, this isn't that different. That's not that weird. And then that stigma of being vegan is so hard and it's so different and it's so weird and I would be missing out. Eventually that starts to fade because they see, well, she's not missing out.
Yeah.
Everything's the same. And I think that that's really, really powerful. That's a lot more, it has a bigger impact than I think we realize.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have an idea of what a vegan is before even like meeting a vegan. And so you have an opportunity to show people, like, I'm not here to fight with you. I'm not here to shame you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to live my happy life.
Why are you not there to judge and shame them? That is your job. It is your job to draw attention to the victim that is there. It is not your job to make peace when violence is going on in front of you. It's not food. It's violence. If you haven't had these conversations beforehand, before showing up at the table, why is that? Why did you not communicate in some sort of an email, text, or telephone calls with all of your family members to say, hey, by the way, I'm vegan now, and just to let you know, it's really going to be hard for me to sit at the table if there's any dead animals there. Would it be possible for us to have a vegan Thanksgiving, or a vegan Christmas, or a vegan birthday, whatever it is? When you do that, you will see who cares about you and who doesn't. And it's important because that's the first seed planted, is the firm acknowledgement of what's on the table, what you're going to be going through. Let them know in no uncertain terms that you are an ethical vegan now and that it's not a phase.
Life, eat the food that makes me feel good, inside and out,
and connect on so many other things that we do have in common, which kind of brings us to what people say in those comments and things like that. I think one thing that's super important is to remember that the holiday is about food, but it's not only about food. It's about family and connecting and making memories. And I think that having that...
Yes, it's about making memories. And why not make the memory that was the first time that you came out as a vegan animal rights activist? That can be a memory. It doesn't have to be a terrible memory. It can be a good memory. It depends on how your family reacts, right? Again, I bring up this idea. If, let's say, they decided to have a whole bunch of dead guinea pigs on the table, how would all the relatives feel then? Would everybody just be fine with it? You need to talk about the animals as much as possible, as often as possible, and give the reasons in a calm way, but in a firm way. Don't let your family off the hook. Don't let them remember, oh, that was a great Thanksgiving, And yeah, it just doesn't even seem like there was any vegan food there at all. Everything was fine. We had a nice big turkey. Like, it's possible, if you don't draw enough attention to what's going on, that nothing will change. Now, I understand it's a balance. I do. But you understand what I'm trying to say. It's important to talk about the victim.
Perspective going into it will put you in a much more positive mindset, as opposed to going into it feeling defensive and feeling angry and feeling anxious.
Going off of what you guys were saying, I think when people think you're vegan, and especially if it's your first Thanksgiving as being the vegan in the room, veganism seems like this phase, and like your grandma's probably gonna be like, oh, that's Nisha the vegan. She's just going through her phase. And I think something that is really interesting about when you go through phases, like you have a goth phase or, different phases you do, it's like you lose a piece of your identity. And I think something that's really important with making sure that everyone in the room knows that like veganism is something you believe in and not some drastic weird thing, is to make sure that you're still being yourself. And if you before wouldn't make rude comments about what people were eating.
How are you being yourself? If you are being silent when you know that there's murder on the table and it bothers you, that's not being yourself. That's covering up yourself. No, that's not okay. Being yourself, if you're an animal rights activist, is to say something.
Or try to bring up and make people feel bad at an activity where you're actually seeing people participate in something you're against. It's very shaming and like...
Yes. But they're not going to feel ashamed if they're proud of what they're doing, right? They're only going to feel ashamed if they get it. And shame is not always a terrible thing if it can lead the person to change. I know that it is not considered in this day and age okay to shame, but I disagree with that. It is okay, perfectly okay, to point out that this is not something that you are okay with. It is fine to do that. And if you say, look, I'm not comfortable with everybody sitting around here and acting like this is okay. I am different now. I have changed. I am not the same as I was. I do not tolerate this anymore. And I want you all to understand why. And if you call that shaming, well, so be it. Or you could call it educating, informing, being firm.
Like, you weren't like that before, so why would you be like that again?
That's such a good point.
There's so much...
No, it's not a good point. You're different. You woke up. You are now the vegan that you were born to be. You're out of that old phase. It's okay to declare it.
Power in silence and staying true to yourself, that if people are making comments, you're under no obligation to kind of like laugh them off or...
Absolutely, you should not laugh them off. I'll give you a check mark for that. You should definitely not laugh them off. If they're trying to make fun of you, do not get into this game of, oh yeah, I'm vegan, ha ha. It's a very serious matter. Don't let them joke about it.
Get mad. I think just taking it in, sitting silent, and if someone really does push your buttons, just say like, I'm not really comfortable talking about this at a certain time. If you want to go out.
Why aren't you comfortable talking about it? Why not? If your family is bringing it up and trying to poke fun at you, make fun of you, or maybe they're super interested, why on earth would you not take advantage of this teaching moment? No. Not okay. And the fact that all three of you are agreeing with this, that's 3 X's. Be brave. Be braver, ladies.
Grab coffee and discuss it, which they don't want to. No one wants to grab coffee with you and talk about your veganism. I think that's a great way to like separate the activity.
You just said it. They don't want to have coffee with you and talk about the veganism. They want to pretend that it's not a problem. They want to pretend that there's nothing wrong with a corpse. Dead flesh. Decomposing flesh on the table. You're right. They don't want to talk about it. But we must.
Thoughts and still...
I don't know if you can hear my dog Bella, but she's barking at some delivery, I think. So I'm just going to ignore her for now.
Maintain like that normalcy of being yourself.
I practiced that because I remember you saying that, and I've used that in my own life, and I actually practiced that recently. I was with a group of non-vegans, and there was a conversation that came up, and actually I realized that I don't have to try to convince anyone, and like I remember you saying there's so much power in silence. You sometimes think that if you're silent that you're not doing enough, but I think a lot of times there is power in silence, because what happened was I was silent. I just ate my food. I wasn't like mute, you know. The conversation continued. But for that portion of the conversation, they had a conversation completely without me and didn't even notice.
Oh, so you mean kind of like when they were taking away the Jews and bringing them to a concentration camp and about to gas them, you just stayed silent. That's what you would have done back then. You would have just stayed silent and been part of the conversation. You don't want to upset anybody. What bullshit! Do not stay silent. All three of you. 3 more X's. I'm going to let this play while I get Bella.
Because they weren't actually trying to learn about veganism. They weren't actually open to it. They had this preconceived idea that they wanted to kind of like bash veganism or whatever right in front of me. I realized I was like, I don't have to chime in. I don't have to defend myself. They don't even notice that I'm not saying anything. So it's like the conversation literally happened and then went, and I felt so protected because I felt like this is so important to me. It's so special to me. And sometimes when you're in a big group setting and you only have a quick second to like give your two little sentences point of view, it kind of gets pushed aside and twisted, and all these other opinions come in, and you're like,
okay, sorry about the distraction with Bella. She seems like she wants to eat pretty soon, but it's like an hour too early. Anyway, no, I'm not okay with this. It is our responsibility to say something. It is not about your feelings or their feelings. It is about the animals. Never, ever miss an opportunity to talk about the victims. Always put yourself in the place of the animals. If you were a cow, or if you were a pig on the way to slaughter, after spending your life in Holocaust-like conditions, concentration camp conditions, and your body has now been shoved onto a truck, and you are scared and nervous, and you are going to a gas chamber, would you want these 3 young women to just be like, oh, well, I don't want it to be awkward? No fucking way. It's not okay.
like, oh, that's not how I meant to say it, and you just feel really gross
So what? It's not about you.
after and kind of vulnerable.
Whereas
You feel so vulnerable. Oh, poor you. How about the animal? You're not vulnerable. You're just a woman standing there having a conversation. Stop being so scared. 3 more X's.
there's like a proverb that says the mountain never bends to the winds because like the mountain's made of stone, the mountain knows what it's made of, or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a
Butchered
foundation.
it.
Yeah.
But I always think of that, like you're the mountain. Like veganism is a very honorable, just incredibly humane way to live. I think it's one of the easiest ways to have such a concrete way of living your beliefs, of not harming and doing the best for the planet.
Okay, she's right. So she's using this analogy that being vegan is like being the mountain, and that you are solid and the wind is going to come and you shouldn't let that dissuade you. But the problem is that if you are a mountain and these people every single day come up to you and start coming at you with a shovel and taking away parts of you, you are the representative of the animal. Do you understand? If you are the mountain, as you say, and they come and step all over you and shit all over you and pick you apart and rip parts of you away, they can do that. You're not a rock. You just said you're a mountain. Mountains can crumble. Earthquakes happen. People come with shovels and dig holes through mountains. They can blast them away with bombs. No. It's not going to work. I know what you're trying to say. I understand it. And on some level, you're trying to say that, look, I'm not going to be fazed by it. I'm not going to end up in a pile of tears on the floor or being ostracized from this group. But you must always push it as much as you can. And most times, you can push it more than you think you can. We do not have a vegan world yet because of attitudes like this.
Planet, the animals, and yourself. So you're that mountain. Don't let the winds come at you and make you bend. Like, know what you're made of. Like, you're pretty freaking powerful. And you don't have to justify that. You're the mountain.
Yeah.
You have to speak out on behalf of the animals. It's not okay to be silent.
I love that example that you gave because it's almost never about you when somebody's talking about veganism. Like, you being vegan has triggered something within them. And
that's right. It is something that triggers within them. It is them feeling their own guilt. But if you don't say anything, then your presence and the plight of the animals will just go right over their heads. I don't know if I'm going to listen to any more of this. Honestly, ladies, I'm not sure that you can catch up. I'm not happy with what I'm hearing here, unfortunately. I expected more. You know what? I'm going to give you another minute or two in case I'm wrong. I really hope so.
They feel the need to defend themselves, or they feel a need to share their opinion, or like explain why they do things a certain way, and it's never really about you.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And
especially when it's people who love you.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even necessarily, they don't know how important it is to you, or how
really
sensitive
it
can be, and they don't know how uncomfortable.
How do you know that they love you if you're not even revealing who you are? You're being fake. They love a fake version of you. No, more X's. You must be authentic. All three of you are agreeing on everything? Also, by the way, that's not really normal. When you have 3 grown women in a room, it's not normal that everybody agrees on everything. This isn't really a good balanced dialogue, as far as I'm concerned. You should have had me there. Yeah, well, you kind of do now.
They're making you, because in some ways they're talking about it almost as if it's like a philosophy or a political view or something. They don't realize how deeply personal it can be.
And I think a lot of that comes from like there's a discrepancy between vegan being a diet and vegan being a lifestyle.
Yes.
And I think that for so long people just associated vegans with vegetarians, paleo, keto, all of these things. They're all
Okay, she's right. She gets some check marks there. It's true. People do get it all mixed up. They don't realize it's about the animals. And again, that's why you have to tell them.
all just these weird diets that people do.
Gluten-free.
I feel like a lot of times people just think that
They don't know what it is to you.
it's just a diet. It's not something that's super personal. And I don't know if there's anything you can say to like make them realize that. Like, I try to say that to people, like, it's not just a diet, it actually is a lifestyle.
I'm sure there are people watching who are thinking,
But if you're saying it that way, like, oh, it's not just a diet, it's a lifestyle, of course they're not going to get it. You have to look them straight in the eyes and say, I am serious. I am dead serious here. Animals are dying. This is not a phase. This is not a goth phase, as she said earlier. It's not any phase. This is me for the rest of my life, realizing that I have to speak out and defend them. And I will not tolerate any jokes. And I need you people to understand how important this is to me. And dear family, I need you to understand how sad this makes me feel. It is as if there was a cat or a dog or a bunch of guinea pigs or hamsters that are dead on the table. It's no different for me if it's a turkey, a chicken, a cow, a lamb, a bunny rabbit. It's not okay. You need to test your families, ladies. See who really loves you. Have the guts to show the real you.
that that's a very passive way about it, and that they want to be saying something, and that this is an opportunity to speak in front of a group of people, and to really show the difference, and to that's like a perfect opportunity for activism. And I think if you feel comfortable and you feel like you wouldn't be making other people uncomfortable, then it's fine to have those kinds of conversations.
No. Again, who cares if they're uncomfortable? What are you saying? When the Nazis took away the Jews, do you care whether the Nazis are uncomfortable? I don't understand what you're thinking. What is this? This doesn't make sense.
Conversations, and maybe if it's like, you know how at holidays there's lots of like little smaller parties going on, like on the couch over here and in the kitchen at the counter over there. You know, maybe if it's a smaller group and someone really does want to have a conversation, it can be a great opportunity.
I think we're all speaking from experience when we say this approach, because we've had multiple Thanksgivings where we've been vegan, and we've tried multiple different approaches, and it seems to be that the best way is to just kind of lead by example.
And I found, especially if I say something before a meal,
the best way to avoid what? To avoid making other people uncomfortable, or to avoid animals being murdered? You see, the end goal has to be that you get your full message out there, and that you leave them with something to do, such as to go and watch the documentary Dominion. I suggest that you go with pre-printed little cards or little pieces of paper with all of the documentaries written on them. All of the things that you have educated yourself with. Dominion Movement, Seaspiracy, Cowspiracy, Forks Over Knives, Earthlings, The Game Changers, all of these ones. Maybe you want to show some of Gary Yourofsky's work. Maybe you want to show Melanie Joy's TED Talk. Write them all down on paper and hand them to your family members, each one, while they're sitting there. And say, this is why I'm vegan, because I've seen these documentaries. And maybe even write a little bit more than that. Ideally, you're going to send them an email or something even before you get together, so it's clear how you feel. It is clear that you are going to be sad seeing a dead animal on the table. Let them know it. If they feel guilt, that's not on you. That's on them.
About being vegan, then that person's super uncomfortable about not eating vegan for the rest of the meal. And then I know that they're kind of like really self-conscious of me being in the room.
Okay, good.
Right.
And then I'm like, they're having a very negative association with me. And I probably, like, especially with Thanksgiving.
It's not about you. It's not about the negative association with you. What part of this do you not understand, ladies? That you are there as the voice of a pig who is about to be slaughtered, and you in the middle. You are the voice of a cow who has her baby ripped away. And the other one, you are the voice of a chicken. You are all the voices of animals who are about to be killed. Put yourself in their position. Whether your family is uncomfortable or not, who gives a shit? Whether you are uncomfortable or not is not the point.
I'm probably seeing you like once this year, or once or twice, and this is like our one time to catch up. And I'm gonna.
No, it's not. There's such a thing as telephones. There's FaceTime. That's a whole lot of shit. That is total bullshit, and you know it. It's not like we live 100 years ago and you don't have any opportunity to catch up with your family. In fact, it should be the opposite. You can catch up with your family any day of the week. Send them texts, send them little videos of, hey, here I am eating my vegan food, anything. When you get together, you should be together doing something meaningful, not just watching some stupid football game in the corner. You should be talking about how you're going to be better as a family. How can you unite? What is your family mission statement going to be going forward? Now that you all are aware of what happens to these animals, now that you're all aware that there is violence on the table, that it's not food, that's the conversation you should have with your family. And yes, it can be exciting. And yes, there can be maybe some tears for people who are just realizing what's going on. But you can get through with it if they actually love you, which you all seem to think that they do. But don't be afraid. Go and check for yourself how much they really do give a shit about you. And maybe you'll be one of the lucky families where your family will go, oh my God, we are so sorry about this. Let's start over. And then everybody orders like vegan pizza or something. This is like the dream, right? But how do you know what your family's capable of if you don't test them? Maybe they'll be awesome and amazing. And maybe your silence is the problem. On that note, here's your final score, ladies. Unfortunately, you didn't pass. It's really sad, you're all ethical vegans, but you really lack something really important. And that is courage. Ladies, you need to be more courageous. I'm going to look at another presentation in the future, and I hope that it shows you being real badass vegans, sticking up for the animals. None of this sitting politely and quietly meek. No, no, no. We need vegans who have the guts to really tell it like it is. To all of you who are just watching, please subscribe to this channel if you are interested in learning more about how to be a true ethical vegan. Here is my subscribe button. See how shiny it is? Ooh. Yeah, it's the green screen that does that. Subscribe. And, thank you to everybody who's supporting my work here. Thank you to my Patreon supporters, to my patrons. Thank you so much. Everybody who gives like $3 a month, it totally adds up. I can sustain myself here. I can buy new equipment. I can feed myself. It gives me the time to work on these important projects, to do research. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's trying really hard to be vegan. You will see on the screen coming up a bunch of new videos that you might not have seen. And to some of you, they're old and you have seen them. But have a look. Subscribe to this channel. Many of you have not yet subscribed because you're forgetting. But there's a little bell over there somewhere. Maybe it's down here. There's a bell. Click on the bell. It's a notification bell. It will tell you, bing, every time a new video comes up. And you can come and you can comment and you can contact me there. I also have a Twitter account, which you can see below in the description, and there's also recipe links down there, all kinds of stuff. If you have a vegan dog and you want to have vegan dog food, you can find that down in the links below as well. All kinds of goodies down in the description. All right, thanks again for coming, everybody, and it is hug time. You know why it's hug time? Because you are the only person in your life who will consistently be there. Family, they might seem like they're there, but at times like this, it can be stressful. It can be telling who really cares about you. Friends come and go. That's the way it is. So you're going to hug yourself. Ready? Hands up. Give yourself a big squeeze. Push hard. Feel it. Give yourself some love. It's not easy being vegan in a non-vegan world. Give yourself a pat on the back. Say, hey, I'm doing good because I'm brave. And then be brave. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Do, 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 do.